Duress in Albania. It's perfect, Weber told his superiors at the Pentagon. As a sweetener for the would be host country, Weber began pitching the idea of a US funded permanent waste incinerator for Albania, one that could destroy the byproducts from Tim Blades' machines while also giving the country a state of the art disposal facility that would allow it to clean up its own toxic waste sites and perhaps those of others in the neighborhood. Rama would be doing the Americans a favor while also creating a new industry for Albania that could generate much needed revenue for decades to come. While Weber was negotiating, Santi's planners at DTRA continued to explore other options just in case Albania fell through. Santi's deputy, John Toast Cinnamon, led a small cadre of Syria specialists who did much of the researching, compiling, winnowing, and vetting. The group was mainly young and mainly made up of women, including two officers, Army Major and microbiologist Tina Schoenberger and Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and pilot Janelle Macaulay, and a Yale University trained biologist named Julia Brown. The most junior member of the group, international relations specialist Chelsea Goldstein, was a petite 25-year-old who looked so young that when a cookie sale notice was posted near her desk during one of her first weeks on the job, several DTRA co workers mistook her for a Girl Scout. Most of the women had no experience with chemical weapons, but collectively they showed a remarkable talent for turning complex projects into manageable to do lists. Throughout the fall, they chased down and analyzed alternative methods and sites for destroying Syria's arsenal. Some were fanciful, such as a proposal to drop Blades and his machines onto a desert island somewhere in the Pacific. But one idea began to look increasingly plausible the more the women studied it. If all else failed, it might be possible to neutralize the weapons on a ship. Their boss, Santi, was intrigued. He had no idea whether the idea was feasible, but it seemed worth exploring. Build a plan and show me, Santi ordered. Tell me how you would do it. Schoenberger rounded up maritime experts and began touring shipyards to look at vessels and gather information. She was able to narrow her search to a class of large seagoing cargo ships known as ROROs, short for roll on, roll off, that are used to haul large equipment from oil rigs to helicopters and Humvees. The US government's maritime administration keeps nearly 3 dozen ROROs on standby in ports around the country as part of a ready reserve fleet that can be activated quickly in case of war. Of all the ships they visited over the following weeks, one of them stood out, the motor vessel Cape Ray. The big grey ship was in mothballs at Portsmouth Harbour when the visitors came calling. Built by Japan in 1977, it spent half its life in the Saudi Arabian fleet hauling oil drilling equipment before being purchased by the US government shortly after the first Gulf War. A ghosted image of a palm tree and Arabian scimitar could still be seen on the boat's superstructure, an artifact of an earlier paint job when the ship was known as the MV Saudi Makah. It was moderately large by the standards of modern container ships, at just over 100 feet wide at the beam, with four decks running the full length of its 647-foot hull. Its distinctive drawbridge like ramp jutted high above the stern when the boat was in motion, then lowered at port to allow trucks and other large vehicles to drive directly onto the ship. But the features that caught the visitors' attention were not visible from the outside. The Cape Ray's main trailer deck, essentially the floor just below the top deck, was unusually spacious, with just enough headroom to accommodate Blades' 20-foot tall machines, the Margarita machines. Below the waterline, the ship was also equipped with a variable pitch propeller and retractable fins called stabilizers that emerge from the hull to reduce the ship's roll in heavy seas. Both helped keep things relatively calm inside the ship during voyages, something the Pentagon's experts judged would be an asset for a vessel carrying tons of deadly liquids.